What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a anthology that just came out called Phobias, and we're going to get into it right now, so let's check it out. So Phobia is on my long list of different movies that were coming out here that I was kind of interested in seeing. I enjoy anthologies, and as I always say, the anthology is the sum of its parts. Now, something in this movie that I have, well, it kind of feels like a movie because everything is connected, and that's something that I really like about this, is that while there are different stories by different directors, different writers and things, they all have the same characters, so they all revolve around one story, and I think that's kind of what is very unique about this particular anthology. The only other one that I've seen that has done something like that is a movie called The Signal. That had 3 different directors with 3 different writers, all the same cast in one big movie. So I like when they do that. However, some of the parts in this movie I was not exactly blown away by. But before I get into that, some of the directors that you can see in this anthology are Camilla Bell, Marit Lee Go, Joe Sill, Jess Varley, and Chris Von Hoffman. There's some familiar faces in here too. Now, the supposed story of this anthology, and probably what would be considered the B-rolls, sort of the story that ties all these pieces together. 5 dangerous patients suffering from phobias at a government facility are put to the ultimate test under the supervision of a crazed maniac doctor who is collecting fear to weaponize. Wow, that's a pretty big side story to connect all these together, but it actually kind of works out in a fun sort of way. I wouldn't take this one too seriously in some regards, but there is some really dramatic, kind of touching moments in some of these shorts. I actually really liked the very first short. I think that's by Joe Sill, who did the Robophobia. I won't say all the phobias, by the way, because it's probably best you just go in and kind of learn about them, because that's kind of half the fun. I think Joe Sill did the best, and then Camilla Bell. There was like the first and then the third phobia. The story's interesting. The characters are interesting enough. There was one segment that I just wasn't too fond of. Hell, even Macy Gray makes an appearance in this anthology. There's like Leonardo Nam from Westworld. You got Hannah Mae Lee from The Babysitters 1 and 2 from Netflix. There's quite a few people in there that you'll recognize in faces, and I think they do a pretty decent job for the most part. I think Leonard Nam really is the one that really pops out here for me the most. I really enjoyed his performance in this, and I think it's just in part from the very first segment that will definitely hook you in to the entire anthology, and I really enjoyed it. It kind of surprises you where it goes, and I like the storyline for it. A lot of these phobias are kind of, at first I thought, well, are these just misdiagnosed people? Like, what's going on? So the story kind of like takes some twists and turns in it as you're going through each of the segments. And then by the end, there's of course a finale. So it's actually giving you some completion, some finalizing like a regular movie would be. Something to keep in mind about this isn't necessarily scary or anything like that, I guess, unless you have those phobias. I didn't think it was scary or anything. It was more just along the lines of an enjoyable film. Yeah, you're not going to get scares necessarily here, but it is interesting storytelling. Now, all the parts aren't exactly great, but they aren't bad. I enjoyed them just fine, but I think they lacked a little bit, which kind of brings down the anthology a little bit. But I think there are a couple of shorts in this. There's like 4 or 5 total. I do like that they're connected, so that's good. There isn't a lot of blood or anything, but the storytelling is actually pretty decent, and the acting is definitely more than passable. So, but I think some people are going to be expecting some sort of extreme horror movie with lots of blood, guts, and like scary phobias that are going to make you go wild, and this really isn't that movie. It's not that it's bad. I actually kind of enjoy it, but it's more about the storytelling and these different types of phobias. I wouldn't expect extreme or like super intense. If you're into anthologies and you like short stories where you can just kind of like dive in, get a good feel for it, and then bounce out to the next one, might be a movie that you might want to rent. I still think it's kind of low on my scoring though as a whole because some of its parts. But I would give this one probably like a 6 or 6.5. The first segment is probably worth the whole thing to me. It's kind of a fun watch if you're going to watch it. I'm sure it'll eventually hit some streaming services, but I always try to support films, so we went ahead and rented it anyway. It's currently $6.99 on Amazon, maybe different prices in some of the other digital places that you may shop. Kind of a maybe situation if you want to rent it for that price. I think it's a little pricey for this one. What do you guys think? Have you seen the film? Have you watched all the different segments in this film? Do you agree with me about any of the segments that I mentioned? Was this worth the rent for you? If not, let me know in the comments section down below. If so, let me know too. I would love to hear from you guys as always. But other than that, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And as always, long live the void.